I have been waiting all day to talk to you guys, but I just got Botox. At first glance, you're probably thinking that's a waste of money because I don't need Botox. I'm actually older than I look. I'm 29 years old, but I do have a baby face. However, starting in middle school, I noticed creases on my forehead that wouldn't fully go away. People with oily skin, even though you suffer a lot more with acne, you actually age better. But I don't have that. I have more normal to dry. So whenever I would express with my forehead, which I do a lot, then those lines remained. Also, it does not help the fact that I have blue eyes, so I squint all the time. At the 2-week mark, that is the time when you need to evaluate your face and see if you need to go back for a dose adjustment. So for most people, the ultimate goal is to have zero movement. And a lot of times you do have to achieve that by getting a high dose or the maximum dose. And that's just not the case for me. So yeah, if you get a low dose, you're gonna have some movement, which actually may be what you prefer anyway, because you still won't be able to do hard scrunches. And there is a small fraction of people that at the 2-week mark, you may notice a little bit of unevenness. And that is because Botox actually has lifting capabilities. So if you get it done in your forehead, it does give you a subtle eyebrow lift. I can't notice it drastically, but again, I'm lower dosage. Sometimes you'll have one eyebrow raised just a little bit higher than the other, but don't worry, they can fix it. They'll just do a little bit more on the other side. The lifting capabilities of Botox is actually pretty game-changing when you think about it, because Botox is usually cheaper than filler. But also too, when you get your lips filled, it's so easy to get the duck look. We've all seen it. But when you do the lip lift right here, you're just kind of raising the area without plumping it up. And honestly, that can be perfect for people with tricky profiles. I have no idea what kind of lifting happens here in your crow's feet. Everybody has a different experience when it comes to Botox. My end result of 20 units could look so different on another person, even if we practically look like twins. And everybody has a different sensation they feel when their forehead is freezing up. But I did do a daily journal, and I want to give you guys a day by day of what I was feeling when it was setting in. I was very lucky my first time. I had no bumps, bruises, or red spots, which are perfectly normal, and oftentimes they'll go away in a few hours. Now, my forehead was slightly sore when I would touch it, and I didn't rub hard, but I would just like tap it, and I could feel that I had a very, very dull headache. I really tried hard not to express to go against the stiffness, and luckily I was able to do so, which I was surprised because I have a very expressive forehead. By the next day, it already felt like 90% of the Botox was set in. Now my forehead was no longer sore to the touch. However, I did start experiencing a sinus headache halfway through the day, and then also some nausea. I'll just tell you now that I was on the brink of getting my period. So that is such a wild card for you. Fun fact, when you're actually on your period, you can be more sensitive to the Botox going in. As in the injection hurts a little bit more sometimes. The 3rd day was a good day, simply because that morning, I ran my finger down my forehead and it was smooth. My creases were pretty bad in the sense that I used to actually be able to feel the divots. I had a slight muscle tension headache, and I think it was because then I was having one of those days where I just wanted to squint a lot, because I actually do squint all the time. That's my resting squint face. Day 4, I had another tension headache, but also a headache in the back of my neck, which I think is more so with poor posture in my sleep. Day 5, I experienced no headache, but then that night I happened to be on the couch, propped up a little weird, and I had my head resting on the couch, but it ended up being more so my forehead, and I didn't notice anything until I pulled away, and the whole forehead kind of hurt. A slight burn all throughout, and that just terrified me. Not so much that something was gonna happen to me in my sleep after that, but more so that I ruined my Botox after being so good. So there I am, all on the internet. What do I do? Looking up day 5, and there's nothing on day 5. Hence why I'm making this video with doing the day by day. But everything focuses on day 1. So that would have been a total no-no on day 1. But by day 5, I guess I was okay. But I don't know, that lasted for hours. On day 6, I remember waking up with that same forehead feeling. And that also scared me because I figured by the time I woke up the next day, I wouldn't be feeling anything. And yet there I was feeling that like weird pressure, warmth. It didn't make me feel good. Also, somebody that just furrows my brow like all the time. And that tension was really building up during my work day. By the next day, on day 7, I had no desire to squint. Day 8, I have no new sensations to report. However, one of my insecurities that I did have about my forehead did go away. Now, I'm kind of reluctant to talk about it because I'm afraid then that's going to be what you guys see every time you look at my face. But hopefully you guys like me for my personality. Yeah, I kind of noticed that my veins would make a bit of a V right here. It was a little V. I was Spock. At first I thought it might be a shadow just because where my skull comes together, I have like a slight bump here. But like after I kind of looked at it all different angles, I realized that it's at the veins. I'm seeing some big purpley veins. It might have always been there. I just felt like it was a lot worse. And then it got extra worse when I jade rolled my face, like blotchy, like I broke those veins or something. It was weird. But yeah, it's just something I always make eye contact with in the morning and I don't like it. However, I did notice by day 8 that these veins were a lot more subtle. And then after day 8, I didn't really notice it at all. Like nothing. So yeah, even though it takes 2 weeks to set in, that doesn't mean you're gonna have 2 weeks of side effects of walking around knowing you have Botox because you just low-key feel it. I kind of mentioned a stiffness, which honestly isn't the right word. I overuse that a lot just because I can't really find an all-encompassing word. When any part of your body is stiff, it kind of goes hand in hand with an uncomfortableness. But whether or not I enjoyed my headache or what, it's not that. The best way that I described it to my bestie was that it's like having heavy eyelids. And side note, like I was really glad to not have that stiffness. I'm sorry, it's uncomfortable and it's distracting. I was genuinely afraid that every single day I was gonna feel my Botox. And now that it has been 7 months, I am here to give my final report. I genuinely loved my Botox. I ended up filming like crazy because I was so confident. I can also tell you that my boyfriend had asked me more than once if I was okay because I stopped showing emotion, even though it left him spiraling. I was so happy. I was beaming with confidence at my new forehead. But it's true though, like the first time you do get Botox seems very drastic to the people around you. But crazy enough too though, like over time, your smaller muscles that are unaffected by the Botox will start kicking into gear and then you'll learn to express and squint from the sun in new ways. But the one thing that I kind of forgot to film was actually like a status report for this video. All I needed to do was like sit down in front of the camera. Like I didn't even have to talk. I just needed to raise my eyebrows, look angry and furrow my brow, like just to simply show the impact of 20 units in my forehead. And I didn't, and I feel like really bad about that and I can't go back and change it. When I eventually did, about like 2 months later, my Botox had metabolized. Now, after the 2 months when I could move my forehead, I still felt like I looked good. I don't know if it's because my forehead had a break for 60 days. It could be that I had a little bit better muscle memory. Perhaps getting an injection here kind of made me think more about the muscle and have more muscle control in my forehead. Or thirdly, it really didn't fully wear off till about 6 months. I had good days and bad days, and I think for the most part, the worst days was when I had like bad dreams or I was sleeping really hard on my face. It's a little funny because they say nighttime is when, you recover and rejuvenate and your body relaxes and heals itself. But when it comes to the face, no, it doesn't. And also the fact that I did my Botox in the winter and then in the springtime, I wasn't really out in the sun. And now that it's July, I can already tell that the lines in my forehead are back at like an accelerated rate. I don't like it, but I understand why. And I like knowing that I could correct it again with Botox. Thank you for watching. I love you. I mean it. Bye guys.